And welcome to another treatment of this weekly's Sunday School lesson. Today's Sunday School lesson is entitled Hannah Devoted to God, and is taken from the first book of Samuel, chapter 1 through 2:3. Samuel 1 through 3. There was a certain man in Rephaim Zophim of the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, the son of Jehoram, son of Elihu, son of Tohu, son of Zuph, an Ephrathite. He had two wives. The name of the one was Hannah, the name of the other Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. Now this man used to go up year by year from his city to worship and sacrifice to the Lord of hosts at Shiloh, where the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were priests of the Lord. Elkanah was an Ephrathite by location, but he was genealogically a Levite. Of course, that makes Samuel a Levite and not a descendant of Ephraim. Samuel was a son of Elkanah. Now, polygamy was common during this time. This is true even among the righteous. Both Abraham and Jacob had multiple wives. There was a good chance that Hannah was the first wife of Elkanah. She did not have any children. Now, this upset Hannah. Elkanah wanted children. It may be that Peninnah was the backup wife that could provide him children. That would have also triggered jealousy because Peninnah knew she was just fulfilling a functional place in the family. Childlessness was a disgrace during this time. Children were a source of labor in the fields, and they even were a retirement plan for their parents. 1 Samuel 1:4 through 8. On the day when Elkanah was sacrificed, he would give portions to Peninnah his wife and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he gave a double portion because he loved her, though the Lord had closed her womb. And her rival used to provoke her grievously to irritate her, because the Lord had closed her womb. So it went on year by year. As often as she went up to the house of the Lord, she used to provoke her. Therefore Hannah wept and would not eat. And Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why do you weep? And why do you not eat? And why is your heart sad? Am I not more to you than 10 sons? Peninnah received more food than Hannah, but she used that extra food to feed her children. Elkanah loved Hannah and wanted her to not feel neglected. He gave Hannah a double portion of food. Now there was hostility between Peninnah and Hannah. It may have been a character flaw in Peninnah that made her a bully, but it may also have been the fact that she felt that Hannah was loved more than her. But regardless, the cruel mocking made Hannah miserable. 1 Samuel 1:9 through 11. After they had eaten and drunk in Shiloh, Hannah rose. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat beside the doorpost of the temple of the Lord. She was deeply distressed and prayed to the Lord and wept bitterly. And she vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your servant and remember me and not forget your servant, but will give to your servant a son, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall touch his head. Hannah praying and being misunderstood as drunk is not the only time that happened in the Bible. The apostles on the day of Pentecost were thought to be drunk. A move of the Spirit can often be misunderstood. It often is very emotional. We can get very emotional when we're pouring out our hearts to God. Hannah was talking to God. She promised to dedicate the child to God as a Nazirite for the totality of his life. Samuel was promised to God as a servant, and he certainly lived up to that promise. 1 Samuel 1:12 through 18. As she continued praying before the Lord, Eli observed her mouth. Hannah was speaking in her heart, only her lips moved and her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli took her to be a drunken woman. And Eli said to her, "How long will you go on being drunk? Put your wine away from you." But Hannah answered, "No, my Lord, I am a woman troubled in spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but I have been pouring out my soul before the Lord. Do not regard your servant as a worthless woman, for all along I have been speaking out of my great anxiety and vexation." Then Eli answered, "Go in peace, and the Lord of Israel grant your petition that you have made to him." And she said, "Let your servant find favor in your eyes." Then the woman went her way and ate, and her face was no longer sad. Eli encouraged Hannah. We see that Eli began his relationship with Samuel before his birth. This relationship and the example that Hannah gave Eli was instructive to Eli. Eli had let his sons be disobedient. His sons had taken advantage of their position as priest. Eli did not correct his sons. Hannah did the exact opposite. She freely gave her son to God and dedicated him to the work of the Lord. This is a complete contrast with Eli that let his sons abuse the office for personal gain. 1 Samuel 1:24 through 28. And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her, along with a 3-year-old bull, an ephah of flour, and a skin of wine. And she brought him to the house of the Lord at Shiloh. And the child was young. Then they slaughtered the bull, and they brought the child to Eli. And Eli said, "Oh, my Lord, as you live, my Lord, I am the woman who was standing here in your presence, praying to the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition that I made to him. Therefore I have lent him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he is lent to the Lord." And he worshiped the Lord there. Hannah's prayer was answered, and God gave her a son. Hannah remembered the vows that she made to God. Eli remembered her and the vows she made. And Hannah prayed. It's 1 Samuel 2:1 through 3. And Hannah prayed and said, "My heart exults in the Lord. My horn is exalted in the Lord. My mouth derides my enemies, because I rejoice in your salvation. There is none holy like the Lord. There is none besides you. There is no rock like our God. Talk no more so very proudly. Let not arrogance come from your mouth. For the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. Hannah joins the ranks of Deborah and Miriam as one of the female songwriters in the Old Testament. These are beautiful words, and they're actually a model for the Song of Mary in the Gospels. After years of humiliation and ridicule, Hannah, horn is exalted. That horn is a symbol of power and strength. Hannah was raised up. Well, friends, good Lord willing, I'll be back with you next weekend.